And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into another episode of the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by our good friends at Witro Wealth Management. We're Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Hello.
Hello.
Look, I wish that we could open up correctly and all our region could hear how terribly you guys treat me before we start recording.
What are you talking
about? So now
about?
these sweet faces looking in my
Yeah,
direction.
you're like,
these
this
are all
is
lies.
so fake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I am happy to see you.
Yeah, okay.
I am now.
Yeah.
Now that the camera's rolling.
Well, let me lean into what I want to. I've been, as ungrateful people are known to be, which of course I certainly am one of those. I've been returning all the gifts over the Christmas season for the last, I'd say 60 days
Right.
Or so. And as I've been dropping these things off, I have been thinking back of like the former retail establishments that were a part of my life as a youth. Now, I grew up in sort of West Central, I guess is what we're calling it, Toledo, so in the Westgate area. So Cricket West and Westgate have been part of my life. Those two spaces, well, Cricket West is sort of locked in time, but Westgate has changed
Totally.
like, so much.
Yes.
So when I was sort
Costco wasn't there when you were a kid?
in my high, we dreamed.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
one
right.
day having a giant box retailer there, as every little kid, deserves and wants to have. But there were, I guess I want to ask you if there's a place that's in your memory of it being an oddity. Jennifer, which is what I call you off air, there was a dinner theater at Westgate.
Westgate Dinner Theater.
That had these giant theater masks on the facade.
Yeah, the happy and sad theater mask, yeah.
Yeah. It was strange then. When I was a kid, I didn't understand what those masks were. I had no idea what was going in that space. I was like, what? But that Westgate was a wildly different space.
We got, that was our present, one of our presents one year, was that we got tickets to the Westgate Dinner Theater. And it was to see Sound of Music.
Oh, all right.
And it was very tiny
Okay.
in
right,
there.
imagine.
They're very up close.
Yeah.
The performers are very up close on the stage, and we were just
Enamored?
mesmerized. Yes.
Okay.
And they're serving you dinner, and we got dressed up. I mean, we were like in fifth
the
grade.
dinner theater? I think I get the concept.
Yeah, you eat dinner,
Yeah. And then what?
and then there's a performance.
All right.
See, I thought that they were eating dinner and you came in
No.
to do the performance.
Yeah.
You
That I
bring
could
your
do.
own theater.
Yeah.
No.
That
Yeah.
would be amazing.
It was
Yeah.
really two separate shows.
But there was
Dinner.
like an arcade, right?
Yes.
Or
Christie's Candies was back
Yes,
there.
yes.
Fribbles at
Yeah.
Friendly's. You got to get that.
Friendly's, that location, no matter what time,
Friendly's was
at the
was
last.
at the very corner.
Yeah, the caboose. And no matter what time of day you walked into Friendly's, every table was dirty. It looked like everyone had simultaneously
Remember
sat there
that
and
thing,
left at exactly the
that
same time.
divider thing? If you had like a bunch of friends with you, they'd pull that divider thing out of the middle.
That's right.
And then you would have like both booths.
Or potentially smoke cigarettes.
That's right. That's right.
Man.
Anyway.
Oh, my gosh.
This was not when I was a kid, but the first time I worked at St. John's,
Okay.
they would every year as a gift to the employees buy gift cards. At various times it was to one of two places. One of them, and this is partly because it was a great organization that agreed, whatever you spend, they'll double. And it was the Andersons.
Okay.
They would get us gift cards to the Andersons.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was great. The other one was to Cooker, the restaurant
yes.
Cooker on Airport Highway.
It was Applebee's essentially by a different name.
It with the roll.
Fancier.
No.
No.
No? I don't
but it was where
remember
it's where all the students went for homecoming and everything else. But
okay.
it was like on the tail end where everybody knew it was like on its way out.
Yeah, sure.
But we're getting these,
That's-
25, 30.
Friendly's was always looking like it was on its way out. Right.
Oh my goodness.
Cooker, that is a good one. The Cooker, Ralphie's Empire, my words.
Right.
That all similarly
Yeah.
conceptually.
There's a lot of the same restaurants
Totally.
with just a slightly different name.
That's right.
Some have
Yeah.
pieces of flair and some don't.
Okay,
if you
wow,
know,
there we go.
right?
All right, speaking of flair, Gretchen, your
Speaking of
guest,
flair, very nice.
Your guest today.
Yes, you don't even know who the guest is to know that flair is the absolute appropriate word
Is
for
it
this
Ric Flair?
gentleman. No,
Oh my God, please be Ric Flair.
That would
no,
be
I don't know
amazing.
Ric Flair, but
Okay.
when we come back, we're going to talk about someone that's in the retail space and has a very interesting flair here in the city of Toledo.
Awesome.
Oh, interesting. All right, more of that to come here on the 419. We'll be right back.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back to the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by our friends at Witro Wealth Management. All right, one of the signatures of our program from day one was this mystery guest, where right now it's your guest. Matt and I have no idea who you're about to bring on. So why don't you drop some hints and let's see if we'll see if we can guess.
Right. Well, we did the first hint sort of on the flare concept, and that is that this person is a man.
Okay.
This person is a very fashionable person. You're going to identify this person in any event you go to as like the guy.
Okay.
No offense to you two.
I was going to say.
Actually, I do mean personal offense to both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what's an event?
He's responsible for, in 2020, earlier this year, for the Metamorphosis event that took place at the Ribbon, the Metro Parks.
You know it's not 2020, right?
It's 2025. Didn't I say that?
It's also not that. We
now?
flipped the calendar. It's 2026. You got there.
In 2025, I apologize.
Okay,
This
gotcha.
was this event.
Okay.
He is the founder of the Revel Air fashion line.
All right.
It's Micah Lee.
All right, Micah.
Let's bring him out. Micah.
Hello.
Pardon me for not standing. Good to see you, Bub.
And you, I don't know if you've ever met Kevin before.
Not very nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Gretchen.
Thank you for coming.
So we always play this game like, we come out and it's like, oh, do you know this person? And I, Toledo's small enough that I almost don't want to say no, ever, right?
But he knows he's not that cool, so.
I don't believe we've met, but I feel comfortable saying, I don't think we've met. But it's always a hesitation to say, no, we haven't met, because then you're like,
Yeah, we have.
We're best friends.
we have many times.
Kevin, I'm your dad.
So, hi, Dad.
Yeah.
Micah, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we obviously know each other.
Of course.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know that a little behind the scenes action here. I set the height of your chair before you got here, purposely lower than me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Well,
just, feels great.
Is this okay?
Yeah, more than okay. I feel
Okay.
tallish.
So Micah, thanks for being here. We usually like to start talking with our guests sort of their origin story, if you will. So can you tell us a little bit about young Micah, where you grew up, family, and that kind of thing?
Young
Where your
Micah.
parents were when you were conceived?
Well, I just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm a Toledo native.
Okay.
Born and raised. I grew up in the Old West End, off of Parkwood, Detroit area. Then I moved over to over by St. Martin. Is it St. Martin de Bourges? Off of Parkside.
Yeah, sure.
Moved over there for a little while. Went to Crossgates Elementary. Kind of bounced around a little bit. Crossgates Elementary. Went to Burndale.
Yeah.
I'm a Bowser. It's not Rebels anymore, but it's the Racers now.
The Blue Racers.
Blue Racers.
Blue
Yeah.
Racers, okay.
Yeah.
Also, Burndale to Bowser, you were finding the least attractive architecturally public school buildings. Burndale was the ugliest building in the history of buildings. The orange roof.
It was orange
It was
roof.
built into the ground, I felt like.
Yeah, it was like a maze. Going through there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was some
late
kind of
every day.
shelter.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out where I was going every day.
That's not on you. That was just the weirdest space I've ever been in my life,
Yeah.
which is saying something.
Yeah.
Well, until this morning.
Yeah, jeez. But then went to Bowser. Tried college for a little bit.
All right.
But then after that, found my passion in fashion. So that's when I started my retail career.
And how did you find it? What was it that you started thinking, this is what I'm either good at, I'm interested in, or I want to do? How'd that happen?
Well, first I needed a job.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
That was the first thing. But then, it was, even when I was growing up, I didn't quite dress like everyone else. You know, I was the guy wearing like the polos and the khakis.
Sure.
When everyone else was kind of wearing like their Kuji and Fubu and, you know, stuff like that. I loved it, but even when I tried it, it just didn't, you know, it didn't feel like me.
Were your folks clothes horses as well, or did they have a nod to fashion? Was
My dad, oh man.
All right.
But, yeah, so my father was like, you know, my inspiration when it came to fashion.
Yeah.
You know, I used to watch my dad in the morning. Like he has his own marketing company.
Okay.
So he's actually from Toledo.
Yeah.
They both, you know, passed away, but
I'm sorry.
thank you. But my father had his
We
own
like to
marketing.
have people come on and say really sad things. So
Oh,
thanks for
yeah,
continuing
bring
that.
out the tissues.
Yeah, well, back to you. Yeah.
But no, he had his own marketing company, and
Yeah.
so every morning I would watch my dad like get dressed in the morning.
Do you have a signature look when you think of him? What is he wearing?
A suit,
Yeah.
a tie,
Sure.
tie bar, cufflinks.
Okay. All right. And
Nice.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that was my father, and so every morning I watch him take pride.
Yeah.
And how he put his, you know, how he prepared for his day.
Sure.
You know, every single day.
Certainly give an understanding to, now the word brand is ubiquitous, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't think of it at that time, but that was your dad's brand.
That was his
He had-
brand.
He had understanding for
Yes.
having things polished and sort of dialed
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Is it, does that transition oddly or interestingly, was your room always immaculately kept? Are details part of your everyday life? Is your car well maintained?
When it comes to my clothing, yes.
Okay.
Because even with my mom, you know, she would do our laundry.
Yeah.
And she would iron our clothes. So she would wash, dry them, and then
Yeah.
she would iron them and then hang them up.
Okay.
So they were always prepared. So even until this day, like I don't pull a T-shirt out of a drawer and just throw it on. I iron all my T-shirts.
Right,
You know,
right.
everything. So.
I love you, as
Yeah.
you know, but that is the least relatable thing you've ever said.
Yeah. No, they were just really about appearance. You know,
Sure.
you know, presenting yourself well. So.
Do you have any of your dad's tie clips or cufflinks?
I do not. I have a couple of his shirts though.
Yeah.
Kick him while he's down.
love
Is that
it.
what we're doing?
Yeah, no. I have a couple of his shirts. My dad, about 25, 30 years ago, he moved to West Africa.
Okay.
So I actually have one of his like dashikis that he wore.
Oh,
Come
wow.
on.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have it. Yeah.
That's incredible. What was that transition like for the whole family?
It was tough.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, bring out the tissues now.
Yeah.
No, it was tough because after he left the States, I didn't see him until. Actually, I haven't seen my dad since he left the States.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But we communicated regularly.
Yeah.
But in person, I didn't see him after
Where in
that,
West
but-
Africa?
Conakry.
Okay.
So he was in Guinea, Conakry, which
Okay.
is right off the coast there.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah. How old were you when you moved?
my dad left. Left or passed?
Moved.
Moved. When he moved, 15.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, that's a lot
That's
going on
right.
as a 15-year-old.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we stayed in communication though.
And he was
You
a
know,
marketing guy then in two separate countries? What?
So he had his office here
Yeah.
in Toledo, downtown Toledo. Then he opened his second office down in Southfield, Michigan.
Okay.
And then he opened another office in Las Vegas, closed one in Toledo, and then I think he was going back and forth between Southfield and Las Vegas.
Wow.
Closed Southfield, then he had Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and then Vegas to, but he was in Johannesburg
Okay.
first before he moved to Conakry,
Okay.
Guinea. So he was.
That's incredible.
That is amazing.
I mean, that entrepreneurship, right? Obviously rubbed off on you to say,
I got it
I
honest.
can do my own thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never knew my father to work for anyone. He had
Yeah,
his,
sure.
from birth, he had his own company. So.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So what was the first job?
My first job?
Yeah.
Marco's Pizza.
Yeah.
So one of my dad's first clients was Marco's Pizza.
Okay.
You know, so Pat Gianmarco was able to get me in.
Yeah.
So I had my first job working at Marco's.
How much Marco's Pizza do you consume now? Or
Zero.
okay. Yeah. Sure.
Because at the time it was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it was a
You've
lot.
had your fill, right?
Yeah,
For a lot of reasons, it's tough to eat at the place that you used to work.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's an aspect of like once
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
how the sauce is made, it's like I don't know that I want to eat
I
that
worked
anymore.
at Pet Supplies Plus, and I could still eat that today. So that's
Still
it.
awkward around dogs.
That's
Yeah.
the one exception.
Right.
But yeah,
Understood.
but it's like we're not talking about eating at a restaurant that's got this like massive diverse menu
Right.
that you can change, right?
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
day your lunch
Yeah.
at work
What
is,
different
is
size-
one of three things that involve the same ingredients.
It was either pepperoni or supreme. You
Yeah.
know, like that was
Yeah.
that
Sure.
the diversity.
The range.
Yeah, the
Right.
range. Yeah.
And I know you're just throwing Supreme in there to be for the booster. you.
As
Because
a
no one eats green peppers on pizza. That's
as a
obvious.
former pizza employee, I have to ask you. I'm not. You are.
Yeah.
Pineapple. Does it belong on pizza or not?
I'm gonna say yes.
Thank you,
and
Micah. See,
pineapple.
because he's fashionable.
Yeah, that's.
He's,
You
you know,
okay?
he understands how
Yeah.
things work.
Yeah, I don't mind going off the grid a little bit, so
Yeah.
I feel like pineapple
Yeah.
belongs.
Based on FCC regulations, I'm not allowed to say, but I'm thinking about what you just said.
I can already tell. I can feel
yeah,
it.
but
yeah.
you're feeling it. I'll text you.
Yeah.
But it rhymes. But it rhymes with pepperoni.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So at the time you're starting this your for money job, is this at the same time you're starting your vision for your company, and what is it?
No.
Okay.
No. The vision for that. So I'll take you a little bit through my
please.
career path a little bit. So I was with Marco's Pizza, and then I moved over to Champ Sports at Southwick Mall.
All right.
You know,
Southwick Mall was the place to be.
That was
Yeah.
one of my first real, I guess one of my first real jobs was Southwick Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
place was
yeah.
great.
It was like our old stomping grounds, man. It was so Champ Sports. Went from Champ Sports to I got promoted to Kids Foot Locker.
Oh, all right.
Then I became like the sneakerhead.
Yeah.
You know, that was like where my love for sneakers kind
Yeah.
of evolved.
Remind me how old you are.
I'll be 46 in a couple weeks.
Okay, we're the same age. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Shocking.
sneaker.
I thought you were much younger than Matt. He looks terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but the sneaker era, right? That is still a fair part of my life too.
Yeah. So from Kids Foot Locker to Lady Foot Locker, because I just kept getting promoted.
Sure.
And so we're all under the same umbrella, so they just kept kind of moving me through.
When you went to Lady Foot Locker, did you look down on the people that worked at Kids Foot Locker?
No, we're going.
Yeah,
What did he say?
peasants. Yeah, sure, that's right. Yeah, as they are. Yeah, yeah.
We think the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it
How's
was
going with your
obvious.
smaller shoes, losers.
So then is the dream at that point was to get to Foot Locker?
Yeah, did you
Go
just want
from
to get to
Kids
man's Foot Locker?
Lady Foot Locker to
I don't think it's called Vans.
Yes, at some point, but then it took a turn.
Yeah.
Because at Lady Foot Locker, then that's when they opened up the Guest store.
Oh, all right.
Oh, guess.
They opened up the Guest store,
you gonna
and
tell us, or we just have to? Wait
I
for
had
this?
like a
I knew that was
balloon Guess jean jacket, you
All
know,
right.
with like the elastic at the bottom.
Yeah.
It was so cool with like big billowy sleeves.
you should bring it out.
Yeah.
Nope.
I think I was
He
burned.
said nope.
It would be trendy right now.
It would.
It would.
That's not big enough for that.
No, it's not.
It would. It
Yeah.
would. But then with Guess, I think that's where my passion really started to kick into like second gear.
Okay.
You know, it was the music, it was the fun, it was, and Guess was like the European cuts, European
Yes.
styles.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different than what I think Tilla was accustomed to.
Yes.
At that particular time, and we drew a lot of attention because there was nothing else like it.
Was that at Southwick also?
No, that was at Franklin Park.
Franklin Park. Okay.
Well, Westfield.
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it was back then. But yeah, so that is when I'm like, oh,
This is something.
this is something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you are sketching out clothing in your free time?
Nope.
You are just, how old are you when you're working there?
This was 03.
Okay.
So 03 to 11,
All right.
you know, was when
Doing
I
it.
was
That's a
there.
long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
For sure.
Working in retail. I mean, obviously, I think they say everybody needs to work at a restaurant at some point in
Yeah.
their life. I mean, what are the kind of lessons that you learned from that time, from working in retail, that you still carry with you in your in your daily life, not necessarily in work, but in daily life?
I learned to listen. Listening.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times, especially in working at Guess, customers would come in and they would kind of tell you, their story.
Sure.
A little bit, and then you had to kind of translate that story into apparel, putting
Yeah.
something on. And a lot of times they had no idea.
Sure.
So you had to
I
kind
think
of be the
there's evidence
translator.
here today that there are people that have no idea.
Everyone
what to
looks
wear.
good.
Yeah.
Why
man.
did you look directly at me?
Yeah.
We didn't know why.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that rhymes with pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
Yeah. That I do think that the retail component of it, or having to work with the public, which you did, is a good lesson for people to learn.
Yeah.
And some people can do it, and some people can't. You and I are friends, candidly. Well, probably one of the best things that's ever happened to you, right? Your words.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you are, and we'll get to the artist part of it next, but not everyone can be an artist or creator and a facing forward business person with the public. What makes your construct capable of doing both those things well?
So ironically, I'm very introverted.
Okay.
So you would think, you know, a guy who loves fashion, you know, who works retail, who's front facing, the public,
Yeah.
that like I'm all about the people. And even being here, I'm like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
but
Pretty intimidating.
slightly.
I get it.
Yeah. But it kind of took me out of my shell,
Okay.
you know, a little bit. It kind of forced me to kind of dig in and allow myself to be myself.
Okay.
You know, as opposed to kind of hiding behind like the walls and behind the scenes a lot. So,
Yeah, sure. So having to come out around the literal counter
Yeah.
to get to people? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
clothes and being seen, being in clothes that you love or that you that you feel speak to people, don't necessarily have to be about you wanting people to look at you. It could be just about you wanting to feel good, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And for me, that's what it was about. It was about me being able to say what I wanted to say without saying anything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because it was the way you feel. Because I can wake up in the morning and today, this is how I felt today. I had a couple different outfits I wanted to put on.
Sure.
And, you know, it's difficult for me to say I'm going to wear this on this particular day because
Right.
I may not feel that way that
I
morning.
hate that.
I was
yes.
curious about that, right? I mean, you are, and we'll get into sort of more of the business portion of this, but you are literally now growing a brand. So what you wear isn't just for comfort, it is a statement, right? So
Yeah.
picking out what you want to wear for that and for the Revel Air brand is important.
It's very
right?
important.
So
It's
you
very
can't exactly take a day off. And maybe this is to some degree a comfortable day off, but still is a statement.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Choked
emotional.
up.
That's how I can tell that he believes, right? Yeah.
Really getting me there. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about kind of where the brand is now.
Okay.
And kind of what you hope to accomplish now as an entrepreneur working for yourself with your own thing.
And some real achievements too. Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll be right back on the 419.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love CBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
Monday through Friday, it's the 419 powered by WGTE. With Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker, I'm Kevin Mullen. What can people expect on the show?
It's going to be an hour, a reminder of why this is a great place to live, work, and play.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back to the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by our friends at Witro Wealth Management. Gretchen?
Yes.
I know we criticize you, but you've done all right with your guest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, sort of a compliment I guess sort of to Micah as well.
Yeah, Micah,
And
you
all
make
my
great.
past guests.
That Danny Mullen, what a lucky gal.
Micah, you're great. We're surprised to see Gretchen bring in somebody that we're interested in talking to.
Yeah, that I even know this person.
Because we're not interested in talking to
And they're
Gretchen.
coming on next. Yeah. So we can't wait to get to them. But we
Not
still
true.
have you for a little bit. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to start with, I want to get to the name, but let's start with how you went from working for somebody else to jumping off that cliff and saying, you know what, I'm standing on my own 2 feet now.
Well, I haven't yet. I currently work for Verizon. You know, so I manage one of the retail stores here in the city, in Toledo. But I am looking to take that leap at some point. You know, but I lost the question.
No, that's so. I mean,
But I think that's a fair.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're obviously then, you know, the flip side of that is you're saying, hey, I still need to have this kind of everyday paycheck.
Yeah.
But I've got this passion and I want to do it, and I'm trying to grow my own thing.
Yeah.
So that just means you've basically filled. I mean, you're still working a full-time job.
I am.
And then in your free time, you go back to work.
I go back to work, you know, but I think there's a lot of importance, you know, with me still being with my 9 to 5, other than just paying the bills and funding the business. You know, there's a lot that I'm still learning.
Sure.
You know, the business, especially retail business, is an ever-evolving business. You know, so I kind of get an idea of where the trends are going, you know, how the customer base is changing, you know, especially locally, you know, things like that.
The cost structure.
The cost structure, and I get a little bit of a behind the scenes in terms of, you know, product, you know, things like that too. So it's helping me out a lot in that aspect. But you know,
give me the jump point. You came up with a name right off the rip. It's had 2 different names. The name of your brand came to you in the shower. When was this born?
The name of the brand actually came from my father and I were having a conversation one day, and I was still working at Guess.
Okay.
You know, at the time, and I said to him, I said, you know, I kind of want to do this on my own. At the time, I thought I was really, really good at what I did.
Sure.
You know, and again, I had a chance to kind of see some of the P&Ls and
the purchasing and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, geez, man, they're making a lot of money off of me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and so I started to
And
think
I want
like,
you to know we are not doing that today.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to see the paperwork. So I thought to myself, I'm like, you know, I can probably do this.
Yeah.
And so we kind of had that whole conversation, and then came up with a name.
Okay.
I wanted it to be something that was expressive,
Yeah.
gave people a lot of freedom, something that was fun, but something I actually kind of wanted to give the people. And we kind of played around with some names, and then Revel Air,
I love it.
you know, is how that name came about.
Wait, let me ask you a question. When you think of the name or say the name, is there a person that you see? Like who embodies?
My dad. Man.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It literally, he is everything that Revel Air is.
I love everything about that answer.
Yeah, that's great.
It's my father.
So what kind of
I
products?
can assume that he was horribly disfigured and unattractive.
My father was like, nah, man. My father was 6'3", probably almost 6'4",
Yeah.
slim build. I mean, like when you think about like
What a
fashion,
brand to look like.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
it was him.
Yeah.
It was him.
When I have, like throughout my career, I've had a couple different companies and I come up with a name.
And dads.
And well, sure.
Right.
And inevitably, I've got this great idea for a name, and then I launch it, and then I start to find issues with it. Right.
Yes.
Like for me, it's email. Like every time it's been the email address. And I tell
Someone already
somebody,
has the email?
Hey, email me at.
Yeah.
And then, so like my very first company, I called Titan Hawk Productions.
Yikes. Okay.
So I went to St. John's, 100%. I went to St.
Kevin
John's
at
and I went to Miami.
titanhawk.com?
It was Kevin at titanhawkproductions.com.
Okay.
That is a terrible
Terrible.
thing. Because then I got to spell it all out.
Yeah.
Plus, hawk is hard to like if you're talking on the phone to someone or anything to be like HAW. I mean, it's hard.
H as in Harry, W
Right,
as
right,
in
right.
Will, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the W word people
Yeah,
use?
somebody
W
thought
as in
that I
weak?
said, well, and then you say it quickly over the phone.
W
And
as in
someone
hawk.
thought that I said Tight and Hot Productions,
Tight and
which
Hot.
is a completely different company.
Now that's a
For
good
those
name.
of you listening,
That's a good name.
Please don't Google that on your phones.
Wow.
This is a family-oriented program.
So are there any moments where you've questioned the name or you've...
And what is your email address?
Yeah.
Micah at rebelair.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Very simple.
Yeah, it is. You did nail it for what it's worth, and the fact that it embodies your dad is particularly heartwarming. And as trite as this may sound, things make it or don't for a myriad of reasons, but things in my experience that do make it aren't just because they're clever or made on a whiteboard. It's because there's substance behind it, and this represents certainly that.
So you and I are just meeting. I admittedly and apologetically, I do not know anything about Revel Air. So what is Revel Air?
I'll jump back for a quick second. There is a little bit of a connection here. I have twin boys, and they graduated from St. John's.
Okay.
So they're Titans.
That's about as close
Men
as
for
connection
others.
for
Men for others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Men for Others. Yeah, they're 2020, class of 2024.
Okay.
But Revel Air means to inherit the enjoyment of life.
I love that.
That is what Revel Air means.
I love it.
You know.
If somebody is, coming to your brand, what are they going to find, right? I mean, obviously you've got a hat on today. I mean, but what types of apparel, what types of accessories, items, what are you selling?
Well, basic goods right now, so just branding pieces, hats, sweatshirts, things like that, comfortable, fashionable gear. But I've transitioned into leather goods, so I had a backpack that I released earlier this year.
That's a beautiful bag. Yeah.
Or last year, which was very successful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Got it into the hands of some celebrities, you know, who had an appreciation for it. You know,
talking about Matt.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
Take the break down a little bit.
But yeah, so, you know, just getting it into the hands of people who would really have a good appreciation for those types of pieces. So, you know, leather goods, and I've got a couple more leather goods that are going to be coming out in January, this month.
That's right.
Also, too, so.
And so what's the sourcing and manufacturing process? Where are you, is that way too long of a question?
Yeah, try to answer that in 30 seconds.
I can try to answer in 30 seconds.
Without weeping.
Yes, I think for me right now, that is the reason for a lot of my delays, is because I'm trying to re-navigate through that process. You know, tariffs, and you know, it's a very expensive industry. You know, if you're having to outsource, you know, internationally, and so I'm in the process of right now of trying to find another manufacturer that can kind of help me cut my cost a little bit. So, but it's tough. It's a lot of sleepless nights.
Sure.
You know, being that, you know, the time difference. So at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, when I'm trying to sleep, I'm communicating, I'm getting messages from my manufacturers.
Right.
Sure, right.
You know, and I have to answer that call, because if I don't answer that call, then 7
miss a
a.m.
day.
I miss a whole day.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Micah, do you have a favorite item that you've done, whether it be your first or something that just particularly nailed it? And also, do you have, I don't know if this reference will land with you guys, but do you have a Gordon Gartrell moment? Gordon Gartrell
The shirt.
was a shirt
Yes.
that Denise, I think, made for Theo on the
She
Cosby
did.
Show.
She tried to make.
She tried.
tried.
It was like just like the real thing, and it was the most
Sleeves were all
over the
over.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
So
Yep.
one that's maybe your favorite, or that you nailed, or maybe even one to come that you're aspiring to make, but is in your mind a win and a loss.
The win was the backpack.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You know, the win was the backpack, because I think that was the kind of the piece that kind of solidified the Rebel Air a little bit. You know, it got the most attention from that particular
It
piece.
does show a volume of sophistication too, and you know, I mean that in a non-patronizing way. You're making clothing and now accessories that are effective for a workplace. Like that's like you're doing a thing now, man. Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
But please keep.
But then it was the I had one piece. Oh my gosh, I had one piece that I created. Got the sample in from overseas, and we made some tweaks. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. Cool. He sent me a photo. Actually, sent me a video of the piece.
Yeah.
And perfect. Let's go. Well, when I got my order, it was all wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah. All wrong. Like how?
It was like the dimensions on
Like
the
Gordon Gartrell.
patch. Right. The sleeves are all off center.
There were 3 sleeves.
Which was weird because it was a belt.
Yeah.
But it was a button-down shirt.
Oh no.
It was a button-down shirt. The dimensions on the seams were wrong. The patch was too small. You couldn't read the name. And I'm like, this isn't even what we approved. And the entire order was that way.
Oh my God.
What was the response?
There was
from
no
them?
response.
I lost the entire order.
Oh God.
They wanted me to repurchase the order. They wouldn't even make it right for me. So.
At the risk of asking for the secret recipe here, like, I mean, how do you decide this is the item I want, right? Or how did you figure out, like, this is the backpack I want, or this is the shirt I want, or this is, because you're not seeing it on a shelf somewhere saying,
No.
Send that to me. I mean, you're having it manufactured for you. Where does that idea born?
I think it's somewhat of a selfish idea, because it's all things that I feel like I need.
All right.
You know, I wanted a really good backpack.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted something that was fashionable but also functional at the same time.
Sure.
Couldn't really find what I wanted, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna just create it. You know, and then come to find out, you know, there's a whole audience that actually appreciates the same thing.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
too, you know, so a lot of it's, you know, it's kind of what do I enjoy?
Yeah.
You know, and with that, it's, you know, I would assume that everyone else likes it too.
And that's why you're so many years in retail and observing and looking at this stuff and being immersed in it, I'm assuming would be beneficial to you at this point, because you can eyeball this stuff and see what you think is missing in the marketplace and what you need.
I studied a lot. I mean, if you go to my YouTube right now, you know, all you're gonna see is just fashion and music stuff. You know, which are my inspirations. You know, when it comes to, you know, what I do every day. But yeah, I mean, I pay attention to what's going on. You know, I watch a lot of fashion shows. You know, things like that. So it starts from here.
For sure.
You know, but I just like to get outside opinions.
Yeah.
So I do have a couple of people that are close to me.
Yeah.
that-
I've never been asked, so that doesn't hurt my feelings.
No.
It's fine.
I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, that will for sure.
Especially speaking that you know who Jerry Lorenzo is and his whole story.
Yeah, he's
It's
got
like,
a whole
now I really
new,
have to go to you now.
right.
Yeah.
He's got a whole new thinking on this.
I had last year through the University of Toledo, I was paired up with one of the men's basketball players in a mentorship.
Okay.
And him and I are out to lunch and talking about his dream and what he wants to do, and he wants to start a clothing line.
Okay.
And I was like, great, this sounds awesome. I have no experience with this, but
Yeah.
from an entrepreneurship standpoint, I feel like I can help, and I can kind of help you strategize and plan.
And you own clothes.
And at the end of lunch, he goes, and he's describing what his brand is. And, he's a kid from the Detroit area that's designing clothing for his friends and his community, of which I am not a part of. Neither his friend nor his community.
Sure.
And he says, hey, when I get these designs done, I'm going to send them your way. I'd love your opinion. And I told him, I'm like, respectfully,
Yeah.
Now you can give him Micah's address.
you don't need nor want my opinion.
I mean, yes and no, though. I mean, like, because what that does is it gives him a good idea of, where his market is, what the people are thinking.
Yeah.
Even for that person who maybe wouldn't normally buy that piece, is this something they would actually enjoy or appreciate, to kind of take them outside of their wheelhouse or outside their box a little bit.
So I'll put you on the spot a little bit here. So you don't have to necessarily mention them by name or whatever you're comfortable with, but who is your cabinet of people that you bounce stuff off of?
I have a friend named Jada,
Yeah.
who has her own her brand as well.
Yeah.
I've reached out to Daryl Brown,
Yeah.
who has a very successful brand.
There's a pretty family connection for me there too, which we'll talk about. But yeah, who else?
Yeah, Joe Riley, who has the Mud May brand, a very successful
Yes.
hometown brand here. So those are some guys that and the Chief, who has Effortless.
Effortless, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are all the guys that I admire, and respect their opinions when it comes to things.
Great.
I love it.
All right, let's take another break. When we come back, I heard you mention fashion show.
WBTS 419.
Okay, we're going to learn all about that. We'll be right back with another segment. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well said,
it's the
man.
419, powered by WGTE.
That's right.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WitroAdvisors.com.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back to the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management. Micah, you were talking about a fashion show, Gretchen, WBTS 419.
Yeah.
I am embarrassed to say, I am learning so much on this show, and I love it. But I'm feeling wildly out of the loop.
You are not expected to know everything about everything.
Thank you.
But we're glad that you're learning so much good information from Micah. So
That is one of the kindest things Gretchen has ever said to either one of us.
I didn't say too much. Just
no, but I'm near him.
So you took it in.
You felt that.
Yeah, it was good.
It's like when you guys are talking about sports, and I'm like,
Yeah.
don't care.
We actually don't know anything
know.
about sports either. We just pretend to, so you'll shut up. Anyway.
Earlier in 2025, I believe you and some of the same people you just mentioned, and some others started an advocacy, I would call it an advocacy organization called WBTS 419. Can you talk about what that is and why you started it?
Yeah, WBTS 419 is it's a nonprofit 501c3 fashion council that we started. It was something that I guess what's the best way to put it? I decided that I wanted to offer support for people who are in the same industry as I'm in or interested in being in the same industry, to provide them resources and support, because coming into this, if you don't know what you don't know, well, sometimes you don't know what you don't know until it's time for you to know it.
That's right.
And then it can be very expensive, cost you a lot of time,
right.
And
heartache,
yeah. And so I wanted to find a way to where I could provide the resources for people who, needed it to advance or start their business, their fashion business.
And what does WBTS stand for?
WBTS stands for Who's Behind the Show.
So it's really an organization for the makers, the designers, the creators, the producers, and all of the people that go into putting together fashion labels, if you will.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
I mean, you and I are just meeting, but like, you're trying to get this going for yourself, right? You're working full-time job.
Yeah.
You're trying to get this hustle going.
Yeah.
And yet you're like, you know what? Let me also, on top of all of that, let me try and lift everybody else up too.
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
Thank you.
Where does that drive? Where does that kind of community building, I don't know, expectation or responsibility or whatever?
Why is that part of your DNA?
Well, it came from my DNA.
Okay.
I go back to my father.
Yeah.
My father was a youth pastor, and so he loved young people.
Yeah.
He always wanted to try to find a way to help uplift, support, the people in his community, the people around him. And so you're right, it's in my DNA. But for me, it was more targeted toward what I'm passionate about. So how do I help the people in my community? The fashion community, in retrospect to what they want to do with their brands, their businesses.
And that's amazing, and I think Kevin's point is well taken. One of the really super cool events that WBTS 409 put on in 2025 was this Metamorphosis fashion show. Yeah. It's clear now that you say that you've been watching all these fashion shows, how well executed that was. For those that don't know, it was held at the Metro Parks at the Ribbon. Obviously not on ice, it was just the cement, but it was this sort of natural looping pathway that people could take, and it was just such a unique and cool event. How long did it take to put that on? Are you guys gonna do more of that?
It took about a full year to plan, and thank you, by the way. I went to Matt, because I wanted to do something that was unconventional, something that was just a little off the grid. And watching all these fashion shows, you're heavily inspired about
by the location.
The locations, everything they put into these shows. And it's like, I didn't want to just do a building with a runway. And so how do we do something that's just different, And, we got great support. I have a phenomenal team. My team is absolutely amazing.
But I'm going to put a pin in that just for a second. It is a nod to you and that group, candidly, the people who designed the downtown park, right? The Metro Parks as a whole, that not me, I mean my colleagues, because that was a fashion show, admittedly on top of an ice rink, right? Which in itself is pretty amazing.
Right.
But it is on a former electrical plant site.
Waste site.
With an overwhelming amount of toxic elements buried well under the ground.
And I don't think anyone envisioned at the time that was being redone, that an event like that would happen there. But it's just such an outstanding event to have there. Yeah, totally unexpected.
Of that green space being used is an example of many people looking at something that we used to think was just okay or could never be different and is now remarkably different and changed. So I look at the ice skating ribbon because smarter people than me said that this green space should be this and attract people. You look at it and say, well, not only is that cool, but it can or should be this.
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm curious kind of how that relates to your brand, right? I mean, you build this space and you build it to do this thing. And then once the community shows up, they do their own thing with it, right? So,
Yeah.
so you design a backpack.
That's right.
For someone to
Well
use
said.
in this way. You know, you design a shirt for someone for this occasion.
And I've been wearing it as a hat.
Yeah, and then somebody uses it differently. I mean, I think is there a pride to that? Is there a when that happens, do you go, no, you're not doing it right, or you're like, no, I love that you've made that your own.
That is it. You know, I think that it's the form of expression that I appreciate, you know, about the fashion industry, is that the interpretation, it's like visual art. You know, it's about interpretation. You know, like when you see that shirt or when you see, you know, that jacket, you know, what do you see with it? I mean, I may not wear those pants with it. You know, you may wear this one. So it gives you an opportunity to have the freedom and you know, and you're allowed to express however way you choose when it comes to fashion.
For our friends on the radio, Matt's entire glare was right at me through all of that. I don't appreciate any of that.
Yeah. For the friends on television, you're right.
So you mentioned your team. I will throw out the disclaimer for you before I ask this question. Okay. That if you leave anybody out, it's Matt's fault.
Yeah, sure.
It's Matt's fault, not yours.
Okay.
But you mentioned your team.
Yes.
Do you want to give a shout out to those folks and give them some love?
I do. There's shout out to Jada Frazier, Jessica White, Rhonda Sewell, Shayna Lee, Amanda Davis, Ziane, Jason Young. Each one of those folks there brought something that allowed that event to be what it was. And I'm going to tell you 100%, it would, if one person was missing, it wouldn't have happened the way that it did. You know, the excellence that came behind that event was solely based on everyone bringing, you know, their heart, their passion, their mindset, their skills, their gifts all together, and it worked. It worked.
I love it.
That's awesome. All right, so
We have to do our.
we have to do it.
We're about finished. You're almost off the hook, Micah.
Yeah, new signature as part of this new show on WGTE is our 419.
The 419 quiz.
419 quiz.
We're making up a different name every single day until one sticks. Today it's called the 419 quiz.
Okay.
Brought to you by Micah. Brought to you by Revelair.
That's right. There you go.
So with the first thing we have is 4 rapid fire questions. So Kevin's going to pick them for you.
Don't be nervous. It'll be fine.
This will be tough here.
What's your social security number and your mother's maiden name?
No.
Your high school mascot in the street you grew up on. All right, if you could teleport right now, where would you go?
Don't do this, because
Orange Julius, Southwick Mall.
I don't want to seem so like emotional,
Yeah.
but like I miss my parents.
Yeah.
So if I could teleport, I would go and just sit and just talk with them right now and just get more, wisdom and insight.
Yep.
Just so I can just keep going.
Yeah.
If I could do anything right now, that's what I would do.
Favorite day of the week?
Favorite day of the week, Sunday. It's my reset. Fresh start.
My man.
Top 3. This one's tough.
Uh-oh.
Top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, I got one. I'll right off the rip. Coming to America.
All right. I assume you mean the second one.
No, absolutely not. No. I can quote Coming to America from start to finish. People hate watching it with me.
Yeah.
Coming to America, Man on Fire.
Yeah, Man on Fire.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Top 3. The third one would probably be American Gangster.
That's an unsung one, I think.
I'm gonna delay
Kevin's
this
never
rapid
seen
fire
any 3 of
quiz. No, that's true. I've seen Coming to America. The second one. No. Matt, what are your top 3?
Top 3. Let's see. I don't have a unique answers here, but it is Godfather 2, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and Miami Vice. I hate the fact that I've been out of
the movie.
Yeah,
the movie.
It's not just a movie; it's a way of life.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Gretchen, what are your
Raising
3?
Arizona.
Okay.
Okay.
Lilies of the Field.
Sure.
Sally Field movie.
Yeah,
Great.
we get it.
I've never heard
Great
of
John
either of
Malkovich.
these.
Great
Yeah.
movie. And Postcards from the Edge.
What the?
Interesting selection.
Those are, I mean, those probably aren't the real ones, but.
Yeah.
I have.
Carrie Fisher movie.
I've legitimately.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I've legitimately never heard of any of those
You
movies.
have to watch Postcards
Honestly, I
from the
haven't
Edge. It's
either.
one of the best Meryl
Yeah,
Streep movies
yeah.
ever made. It's absolutely
That statement
hilarious.
couldn't be more untrue, but it is a good movie. I'll give her that.
Man.
Okay, what about yours?
So I don't have any, like, I always say, like, when I get this question, I always go to
Star Wars?
I always go to Rudy.
Yeah.
Okay, Rudy, yeah.
But like,
Never seen it.
if you were like, hey Kevin, you want to watch Rudy? Not really.
Yeah.
Like,
All
it's
right.
kind of slow.
One and done.
But like,
Wedding Crashers.
Football.
Notre Dame.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I know.
Yep, Notre Dame football movie. I grew up loving that.
Yeah.
And so that's in that list. But like, I don't care. Right? Like, I mean, like, I don't know that I have a favorite.
Is there a movie that's, if it's on, no matter when it's on TV or whatever, that you would sit down and watch it?
There's a litany for me, yeah.
We watch, as a family, we watch Elf.
Oh, yeah.
Every year around the holiday.
Yeah.
That one's great. I do like most of the Will Ferrell movies.
Yeah.
Like I just.
He's a stan. Yeah. All right, we have to get back. We're running out of time.
Yeah, all right,
Okay.
here we go. What is the one food that you could never give up?
While watching Postcards from the Edge.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say Marco's Pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next part of the quiz for the one in the 419, obviously, is your number one favorite or best thing about Toledo or the region?
Best thing about how collaborative we are here in Toledo.
Okay, good. The final part of the segment is 9 words that you would use to describe Toledo or the region.
Gritty, supportive, resourceful, I would say ambitious, resilient. How many is that?
5.
I got 4
It's
more.
way more.
Creative, evolving. I lost track.
2 more.
2 more.
If you got them.
You can say Matt and kill him.
I'm going to put this as one word.
Okay.
And there's 2, but there's a hidden brilliance
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
that when it
Well,
comes to
Gretchen's is well hidden.
Well,
Yeah.
well under wraps.
That's right.
Very good. That's
what's-
very good, Micah.
What's the future? What's the future hold for you? What do you want? What do you want to manifest?
How much time do I have?
Yeah.
2 minutes.
To have 2 minutes. So obviously keep growing Revel Air, keep getting product out, keep sharing the gift and the passion. For WBTS 419, we're going to just keep showing up for our community. We released a date for our next fashion show, September 12th.
Oh, good.
Metamorphosis is coming back.
Nice.
We're going to continue to keep highlighting designers and giving them those platforms. Keep educating. That's what's on the agenda.
If people want to learn more about WBTS or learn more about Revel Air, how do they find it?
Socials is WBTS 419 for Instagram and Facebook. Revel Air on the same. WBTS419.com for the website, and then revelair.com.
REVEL.
REVELHEIR.
Revel Air. Micah, thank you.
Such a
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Great to meet you.
Great to
And
meet you
now
as
the
well.
next time we see each other, and I say we've never met, you can punch me for that.
No, I got you.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Wonderful. All right, we will be right back to wrap up this episode of the 419 powered by WGTE.
Every day when you're walking
You
down
laughed
the
with
street.
us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure
we're
your
together
childhood
again.
was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertain, inform, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back to the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management. I know we make this joke, but legitimately, every guest that we have had on since we started this, as a podcast, over 2 years ago, I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know. I know we always pick on Gretchen for her guests, but you did all right today.
Thank you.
What's something you learned today that obviously you already knew, Micah, but something you learned today you didn't know?
Yeah, Mike and I have had the friendship for quite some time. Certainly has made my life better. I knew about his relationship with his dad. I guess it didn't register to me how impactful that gentleman is, and also by proxy. His dad is a part of our city, right? So I'm proud of Micah. I'm proud to be his friend. I know his dad would be proud of him, but it goes to show that what you do does impact not just the immediate today, but things that you're not actually going to be a participant of. And I know that that's part of what the show aspires to do, is to tell stories of what people are doing right now. But so many things make what's happening right now possible. Mm-hmm. So it's just nice to highlight that. It's nice to be with a friend. Yeah.
Gretchen, we talk a lot about how even when it's our guest, we still learn something new about them, and that's part of the fun of this. What's something that you're taking away from the conversation today with Micah?
Well, I didn't know most of this background. I know Micah mostly from social media and through other friends, but I could see what he was trying to do and see the way he presents himself in the community, and his clothes and his fashion, and all of it. It was incredibly interesting to me. So I loved hearing the story about his family and his parents and the brand and what he's trying to do. It seems like I think he's going to make it.
Me too.
It's interesting to me. You say that you saw this thing in him, and I almost want to bring him back on to talk about some of this. But it's like, it makes you realize how much when you see these things in other people, they may not yet see that in themselves, right? And so there's a responsibility there to make sure that people know, like, hey, I see you and I see what you're doing. Because there's, especially in entrepreneurship, like it's lonely.
Yeah.
Right? And
Totally.
and there are, I tell people that,
then you become an overnight success, right? After you've been doing something for a decade.
I love hearing that from musicians, right? Who hit it big and they're like, you're an overnight success. They're like, for the last 30 years, I've been working on becoming an overnight success.
Right.
But I think that's, with entrepreneurship, I tell people that when you're working for somebody else, when you're working for a company and, you've got this, steady 9-to-5 paycheck, there's a floor and there's a ceiling. And everybody in entrepreneurship focuses on there's no ceiling. But what they don't tell you that you figure out once you get here, there's also no floor. Right. And so the lows are low, and they're lonely. But I think what we hear from this story, and what I think I hear time and time again about this community, is the way we come together and support each other and say, hey, I'm going to help lift you up off that floor.
And he's trying to do that for other people.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Right,
it's incredible.
So it's amazing. Great. It was great to talk to him today.
Yeah, absolutely, Gretchen. Thanks for bringing him in. Thanks to Micah for being our guest today, and thanks to you for watching, listening, tuning in. Of course, you've got a couple opportunities every day, Monday through Friday, to tune in to the 419. 7 a.m. we're on WGTE's YouTube channel. At 3 p.m. we are on FM 91, and at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. we are on 30.4 WGTE Connects. We appreciate you being a part of this. Gretchen, Matt, thank you so much. And thanks to the folks that support this program. And of course, thanks to our friends at WGTE. We'll see you back on the next episode of the 419, powered by WGTE.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.